morning. I swear a lot.
It is 2:15 in the PM, and you're listening to The Foreman. I'm your host, Foreman, and last time, first of all, it's going to be a double bill of Foreman talks. Well, hey, it's what everyone was waiting for. Second of all, last time was very doom and gloom, because it was a subject that I take seriously, that I wanted to talk about, / rant about, and complain about to an excessive length, and, sometimes it feels like Foreman Talks is the best platform I have for simply complaining about shit, but I didn't really want to follow negativity and misery with negativity and misery. I also didn't have a very defined topic available for something cheerful to talk about. Maybe that says things about me, shut up. So I decided that as a follow-up to complaining about AAA, I thought I'd just talk about things that are cool. And by that, I mean I wanted to talk about things that I find cool, things I find enjoyable. I think, personally, I want to encourage / normalize, mostly just encourage really, people to talk passionately about things they like, enjoy, think are cool, think are neat, think are interesting. I wanna push that a little bit more, because I think, it can be very cathartic to complain about things. It can be very cathartic to get this stuff off your chest, but it is actually a proven psychological thing where the way you talk, what you say, and the way you present it affects how you feel. Like, I, for instance, do like to employ a bit of self-deprecating humor because, I don't know, I think it's funny. But you can't just do self-deprecating humor, for instance, because constantly putting yourself down will put you down. That will make you feel sad. You can't just do self-deprecating humor all the time. You can't just... The more negative things you say about yourself, the more you'll believe it and the more you'll feel it, and you need to be able to combat that to an extent. Now, is that a bit of a deep thought for what we're talking about, which is just stuff that are cool? Yes, it is, but psychology's pretty cool, Understanding the human mind is pretty interesting, I find, so there's something to that as well. It still all rounds into the overall topic of the discussion, but my point in bringing that up is that constantly complaining about stuff will just put you in a worse mood. It just brings you down because it makes everything you're complaining about feel more real. It pushes it more to the forefront of your mind, where because you're complaining about stuff constantly, it feels like everything is just bad. Because that is basically what you're living at any given time. It's all you talk about, it's all you focus on, it's all you think about. Things just get more and more miserable the more and more you focus on miserable things. Hence the desire for something more cheerful. So, in terms of cool things, I've got something at the moment. We'll be talking about multiple things, but there's two particular archetypal, fictional fantasy concepts at the moment that I'm struggling between because I think both are really cool and I can't decide which one I prefer more overall. Kind of varies depending on my mood at any given time, just like what I feel like doing. But, playing through Eratus, or Eratus, I think his name's actually Eratus, but I'm going to keep calling him Eratus because it sounds better. Eratus really reinforced for me my love of necromancers. I love the idea of being able to raise the dead, of summoning legions of disposable undead to just generally fight with. I think that's cool and fun. I love skeletons. I think skeletons are great. I love being able to summon those. It's fantastic. I really enjoy it. I like how deliciously evil necromancers are a lot of the time. They're always very cartoonishly evil. But I've also liked thinking about the idea of, what if there was a necromancer who raises the dead? Because take, for example, Warhammer Fantasy as a setting. There are forces that are just basically undefeatable. You can never defeat Chaos truly. The Skaven are so numerous that you'd never really be able to kill them all. So I kind of like thinking of the idea of a necromancer who's I'm going to use an inexhaustible destructive force to combat the other inexhaustible destructive forces, right? I'll just raise endless undead to fight the Skaven and Chaos. And if that sounds a little far-fetched, it is actually lore accurately, at least in terms of Total War Warhammer 3, the reason that Archon the Black does what he does, or at the very least, it's a reason he provides. In one of the loading screen messages, loading screen quotes, he specifically states that, look, Chaos is fucking coming in. I need Nagash's power to deal with it. Now, Archon is obviously a prick, right? He wants to conquer the world. He does. It's just, he's also right in that having something like that would be very important for fighting Chaos. You could even create a situation in which, the Empire not only is alive and safe, but can actually chill and thrive and grow because, well, the war in the Chaos Wastes is kind of being covered by a legion of undead. The Norskins and demons just can't break through the fucking tide of zombies and skeletons and Vargeists and what have you blocking the way. I kind of like that idea in terms of necromancers. The other thing I'm currently stuck on at the moment is druids. I don't know when this became a thing for me, but I've come to really love and appreciate like nature magic. I love the idea of utilizing the forces of nature. I think Baldur's Gate 3 really brought this home for me, where in my first playthrough of that game, I did a multi-classing druid monk. So I had some fairly decent melee capabilities because I went way of the fist, I believe. I'm not sure, can't remember what it's called, but I went for the more melee-focused one. But I was also a very effective druid caster. I think I was a level 8 druid to level 4 monk or something like that. And being able to just use nature magic, the ability to shapeshift into animal forms, the ability to talk to animals and stuff, communicate with nature, use it to my advantage. I found all this to be very enjoyable and fun and cool, and obviously Baldur's Gate 3 agrees because there's quite a lot of druid presence in that game, more than I was expecting. Druids are usually kind of shuffled off to the side in terms of importance in a lot of fantasy settings, but Baldur's Gate 3 quite likes them, so yeah. They're a little more prominent in that game. I just like druids in general. I tried playing a druid in Pathfinder Kingmaker, and fuck me did that not go well. Druids blow in Pathfinder Kingmaker, but by the same token, rangers, who are, you know, basically just nature dudes who prefer the bow rather than magic, are fucking broken. Like, incredibly, insanely strong. So, I still got to play my nature character and have fun with it. I enjoyed that. I like playing nature characters, and I've been playing a lot of Age of Wonders 4 recently. And I started a Necromancer playthrough and called the Lord leading it Eratus. I had a little Eratus playthrough, which was quite fun. And I also started a playthrough which kind of had a barbaric druidic society that focused less on summoning fuck tons of animals, because that is an extremely broken strategy you can use in Age of Wonders 4. Like, holy shit, you can dominate the map with animals quite easily, but focused more on the utilization of nature magic and the roots and vines and benefiting from forests and stuff like that. And that was really interesting. Like, I really enjoyed playing through like that, using druidic magic in general. I like druids, I like necromancers. They're both very different, but also very much kind of the same, because it's death and rebirth, regrowth, life and death, you know, like it all kind of blends in together. I think it works quite well. Another thing that I think is cool that I actually haven't really indulged in much recently, but I think I can feel it sneaking up on me again. Like, that's the thing with a lot of things I find cool, is that I go through phases with them where I'll kind of let them go for a while, but they always come back, and I always start craving them again. And that's samurai. Fucking, I'm a huge samurai simp. Like, I know the real world samurai, ironically, were often less honorable than, like, ninjas. Ninjas were usually more loyal and honorable than samurai were, but the concept, it was really more what I'm leaning into here and what I enjoy more. The concept of samurai, of a noble, kind of chivalrous, actually, warrior. This is why I like knights as well, we'll get there. But this noble, selfless warrior who has devoted himself to the defense of his people, who refuses to retreat, who would rather die in battle than be dishonored. With all of the pros and cons that these ideas come with, is something I really appreciate. I also obviously like the visual look of samurai. I can't tell if I prefer like a fucking shogun looking motherfucker or a ronin better. I like both concepts for different reasons. I do love the idea of just plain clothes with a sword and the straw hat just walking down the fucking road. I think that is a really cool vibe. But the presence of like a samurai general, of a lord with that ornate armor, and the big like kabuto helmet and stuff with the face mask, and it's all very cool. I've been really tempted to start playing Total War Shogun 2 again at some point. I want to buy the DLC for it as well. Maybe do like the Fall of the Samurai campaign and stuff, because the Fall of the Samurai was a really interesting period of time. Yes, I have looked into the history of samurai because I find it very cool, so I wanted to learn more about it. And like I said, samurai were not nearly as cool in terms of the people themselves as the concepts and the ideas played them up to be. Like, that is, you know, and that's the case with everything. Chivalrous knights were not nearly as chivalrous as we play them up to be. But the concepts themselves are what are interesting to me and what I find really cool. I don't I don't believe that katanas are better swords than other swords, but we can't deny that katanas are pretty fucking cool. They're just cool weapons, right? Like, Chinese Dao are pretty fucking sick as well. Everyone loves a good long sword, like, and a Zweihander. Like, how can you not? Rapiers are awesome. I love rapiers. They're so cool. And sabers, sabers are sick. It's funny. I'm not like a weapons enthusiast or anything. Like, I don't collect weapons or any of this crap. And like, I'm the same with guns as well. Like, I don't have any real life care for guns. I don't want to own a gun. I don't want to use a gun. I don't give a fuck about any of that. But in fictional concepts, in terms of like a video game or a movie or something, I do love to see some weaponry, and I love seeing how they're presented, and like sound effects for weapons are so important. If you're gonna have a shotgun, it needs to sound like God slamming his car door, right? And a revolver has to have just the right sound to it. Once again, can't stress enough that I don't give a fuck about weapons in real life, but in games they are everything. And one thing I love the most often about playing most games is seeing what weapons I can get, whether it's something modern or something or more fantasy based. I'm like, what weapons do I actually have available to me? And I'll often end up using one that is less good, like noticeably inferior, because I want to play with a different weapon. It's weird, like, I've been playing Warhammer 40k Darktide again recently, which got a lot of big updates, which for one revamped the skill tree considerably to be not shit, which is brilliant. Now you can really specialize your character to certain roles. Like my veteran, for instance, focuses more on squad cohesion and generally buffing the resistances of everyone around him so we can all stay in the fight a little bit longer. Keep the team going through impossible odds. But typically when I play Darktide, I use a las pistol and a knife. And that might seem like an incredibly boring combination of weapons, and honestly, yeah, it kind of is. You can use bolters, you can use plasma guns, auto guns, you can have a proper, two-handed las gun like a rifle rather than just a pistol. You can get a revolver, but I like the las pistol because it kind of has a John Wick feel to it where you move and shoot. It's a very fluid movement-based style. There's something satisfying about it, and the knife, like the thing I love the most about the knife in that game is that you have your standard attacks, like your normal light attacks where you just click and you just hold the knife fairly normally and you swing with it, maybe a bit of a stab here and there, but it's mostly swings. If you hold down to do a heavy attack, your character flips the knife in his hand and holds it in a reverse grip for stabbing, which is cool. Like, that's good for getting in heavy hits on big strong targets and like hitting weak points and stuff. But if you flit in between doing light attacks and heavy attacks, your character is constantly just twirling the knife in his hand and doing different like styles of attacks of it, going from like backhanded stabs to front-handed swings, back to the backhand to stab again. And something about that, especially combined with blocking and pushing and stepping back from hordes and stuff like that, just creates one of the coolest like fighting styles in my mind. It makes no fucking sense. You can't take on a horde with a knife. That makes no fucking sense at all. And you're not really supposed to do it in game either. I've kind of learned how to, because I forced myself to learn how to, because I wanted to do my knife flippy shit. I just wanted to do that. But it feels so cool. It just feels so fucking cool. And it's like, why use a knife when you have access to swords, axes, power swords, like chainsaws, fucking shovels? You can use a shovel if you want, but like, no, I like my little knife. I think its mundanity kind of gives it a little bit of extra personality. Who's this guy who uses a knife? And I'm like, really? In this universe he uses a knife? Yeah, but he's pretty good with it. He can make it work. And my character is a lot faster than most other characters in the game, because I have a lot of stamina and I use light weapons. So I can zip around the battlefield, get to place. Someone needs rezzing, I fucking gun it over there to help them. At the end of the mission where you have to fucking extract, guess who's first on the transport? It's me. It's me, because I'm fucking quick. And I'll leave those fuckers for dust. Fuck it. I actually don't. I do work with the team to help them get out. There was a game recently where it all went tits up during extraction, and one of the other team members was literally like, Foreman, run, just get out of there. And I got within 5 meters of the fucking transport and got grabbed, and it was over. And that was so upsetting. Of course, if I hadn't been so quick, I wouldn't have even gotten that far. So, it wasn't like a build problem, it was just a bad situation. But I kind of like Darktide for its bad situations. I think those are the coolest moments, in my opinion. I don't really like Darktide missions where everything goes fine and there are no problems. They're a bit boring, to be honest with you. Not that the game is boring in of itself, but it's just like, what? You're telling me in this 40k saying something went perfectly well with no problems? That's not very on brand. That's not really how it's supposed to go. Someone should die. There should be chaos and misery and death everywhere, and it should be something we barely achieve by the skin of our teeth. Those missions where you are desperately holding on to survival, desperately attempting to get it done, those are the missions. It's like playing Predator Hunting Grounds. I remember I did that with Sweeman ages ago when I went round to his old place, and god, that was fun. That whole game is just, we could all die at any moment. At any moment, you could just die. You could just drop, the Predator will just get you. That game rules. Fucking love that game. I don't even like playing as the Predator. I like playing as a human trying to deal with the Predator. That is a lot more fun to me. I guess that's something that I do tend to find cool in games and general fictional settings, is that I prefer to be the weaker side. I prefer to be the less overpowered side. I prefer to have to try and punch up rather than punch direct or punch down. I like to try and overcome something stronger than me. I think it creates for more enjoyable gameplay experiences. It really invests you personally because your victories you earn. You don't just get victories, you earn your victories. They're hard fought, but you pull it out and it feels amazing. Like, I remember once when playing Age of Wonders 4, I was playing a druidic rat civilization, right, of all things. Like a nation of rats, but they were all druids and liked nature and stuff. And we went up against a human undead faction, like feudal undead. So this was like an organized undead army, basically. And they outnumbered us. Now, when you outnumber the rats, you're doing pretty well. You're pretty much guaranteed a victory there. But I was like, shit, well, I have to fight this or I'm going to lose everything. And what ensued was the most underdog against all odds battle where we actually managed to fend off this massive horde of zombies and skeletons and stuff and win. And that moment lives in my brain permanently because it was a victory that was earned. And it had its own narrative significance in the fact that there is no running narrative in the game because it's like in those instances, it's sandbox grand strategy. But in my mind, it had narrative. In my mind, it had personal significance. And in my mind, it was this big, important, be-all, end-all, the survival of our people depends on this fucking battle moment. It was amazing. And I loved it. Mechs. I can't talk about things that I think are cool without talking about mechs. Armored Core 6 really did bring me back into the fold in terms of loving mechs. Like, don't get me wrong, I still did. Like, I played Battletech last year, I think. I started playing Battletech last year and played a bit this year or whatever. And I love Battletech. I love the Mech Warrior style, or I guess it would be Battle Mech, whatever. I love that franchise's style of mechs. They're big, they're chunky, they move quite slow, except for the small ones, obviously, but they're like scout mechs. But like your main Battle Mech mechs are big and chunky and stomp across the battlefield. And it's all big guns and maybe not enough melee combat. I enjoy some mech melee combat, and I could do with a bit more dedicated melee in Battle Mech, but still, it's still pretty cool. And Battle Mech and Armored Core 6 have such different ways of approaching mechs, where Armored Core is very fucking quick, very fucking fast, big booster jets fly around the battlefield, pulse blades and pile bunkers and double Zimmermans. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, Zimzams for days. I love all kinds of mechs. All kinds of mechs are fucking sick. I love Gundams as well. Maybe not as much as, say, ACs or Battle mechs, but I love Gundams too. I've never really been big on, like, actual Gundam itself, like, the series or whatever. I haven't really watched them. I played a couple games, but never really invested myself in that franchise as a whole. But I love the concepts. I love the big robots slapping each other with glowy sticks. It kind of does everything for me, really. I love that shit. You know what else is cool? It's like the opposite of grind. Like, you know what grinds my gears? So it's like, you know what else is cool? You know what I fucking love? Fallout New Vegas. I fucking love Fallout New Vegas. It's one of my favorite games I've ever played, and it's a buggy piece of shit. It is an absolute buggy piece of shit. But fuck me, is Fallout New Vegas good. I think it is one of the coolest games, one of the coolest settings I've ever played in a video game ever. I absolutely adore it. I love that the courier is just a nobody. I love that this is a game where you don't start out in a vault and it kind of feels like you have some kind of destiny far beyond yourself. It's like, nah, you were just some dude who got fucking shot and you managed to survive. Good for you, well done. I guess you want to go kill the guy who shot you. Maybe find out about your package, because that's kind of your income, so maybe you should go do that. But one thing I really like about New Vegas is how the courier goes from being nothing to being everything. And it feels like a natural progression, as it were. It doesn't feel like someone comes and finds you and is like, you are the one who must save the world, or anything like this. It's like you're just some guy or gal, whomever, and as you go to track down the guy who tried to kill you, or basically killed you, I guess, failed to kill you, you just do more and more stuff. You become more and more involved with the overall movements and politics of New Vegas, and you become an important character simply because you're a person who can take care of the things other people can't. You have the strength to make changes to the climate of New Vegas and make big differences and do big things. And eventually, you go from being some random dude who, in the eyes of people you come across, is basically a merc, to like, yo, this guy solves problems and causes more problems. You want him working for you. Because if he's not working for you, he causes big problems. And the DLCs, my god. My fucking god. Dead Money, Honest Heart, Lonesome Road, Old World Blues. Oh. Some very good DLCs. Some very fucking good DLCs. Dead Money is kind of annoying, I will say, in the fact that you just kind of get dumped there with all of your equipment gone, but it's still very cool, and one of my favorite tracks in Fallout New Vegas, I think, came from Dead Money, or at the very least, in lore, the song came from Dead Money, if that makes sense. But Begin Again is a brilliant track, and I fucking love it. I love the Western focus of New Vegas. I love all of the weapons in New Vegas, and I love the Western focus. I love being able to play with revolvers and lever-action rifles and hunting shotguns and stuff like that. It's like, you can go sci-fi high-tech, or you can go cowboy, or you can pick up a rebar club and go full Unga Bunga. Do what you want. But I love being able to sort of be a cowboy in it. I love the fact that in fucking Old World Blues, you can basically become cybernetically enhanced. So now you're a cybernetically enhanced cowboy with a bullet in his head, and his brain technically not in his head. It's weird. Don't worry about it. And I love how much you can affect New Vegas, especially in the post-game sequence where they sum up everything you've done. You can have a real effect on New Vegas. There are multiple outcomes. Every place also has different registered outcomes depending on what happens and what you do. If you go around and murder everyone you find, the end of the game will recognize the fact that these towns, these locations, these factions are fucking dead. Not just they took a bit of damage, they didn't like the courier very much, but it's like, this place is a fucking ghost town. All that is left is the memories of the people who once lived there. Like, you cleaned it out, it's gone. You were a force of nature. And it reminds me that, like, perhaps not nearly as good as New Vegas, but I remember really enjoying The Outer Worlds, which was the sci-fi shooty game, which was basically New Vegas in space. Now, it's not as good as New Vegas, it's not quite New Vegas in space, it's just not as good, it's not that good. But Outer Worlds was really cool. I really liked the game, honestly. I had a lot of fun with it. I really enjoyed fighting corporations, just, the game sits me down and it's like, alright, these are the corporations. They're bad. They oppress all individual freedom, and everything's ruled by money. And I'm like, thank you for my target. I'm going to pursue it with gusto. And I did, to the point where I ended up making the main quest a lot harder for myself, because while I was doing some jobs or proceeding with the main quest on like the main corporation planet, I had pissed them off. I eventually pissed them off so much that I became shoot on sight. Like, I was public enemy number one. So I literally walked out of a building in the middle of, a corporation planet, and all the guards were like, there he is, fucking kill him. And I had to have a massive, gruesome gunfight through the center of, like, a city. Like, for all intents and purposes, my character was basically some kind of horrific terrorist by this point. Although I knew, from the player's perspective of the narrative, which there might be some irony here. They're like, well, I know I have to fight the corporations. The corporation's bad. Gotta deal with them. But, like, at the same time, I was rampaging through a public residential area. Like, fuck, man. That's the thing. And Outer Worlds is a game where you can kill everyone. There's one character that they basically go, we're gonna make sure you can't kill him. But everyone else is free game. Go nuts. And, like, I've never really committed to a genocide playthrough of, Outer Worlds, because honestly, looking at it with my knowledge and understanding of games and how they go in general, I don't think the ending would be particularly interesting. It's not like Undertale where doing genocide actually really matters, like that's actually a big deal. It's not so much here. It would just be a thing you do for fun to just kind of, I don't know, maybe add a bit more challenge, I guess, because you would go to some heavily guarded, well-defended areas quite quickly, and it would be difficult to break through. But by the same token, you'd get so much fucking loot that you just have all the best guns, like, almost straight away. But it's cool. I liked Outer Worlds. I liked the vibe of it. I liked being able to spec into, like, basically spec into handguns and have, like, a, you know, like a jacket and jeans and stuff, and basically be like a fucking, you know, smuggler space captain type character. You're Han Solo, as it were, like, kind of cosplaying, not exactly the same, but taking inspiration from that. Very enjoyable concept, very fun to play. Liked it very much. I mean, playing FTL's, multiverse mode, or multiverse mod, sorry, like, playing with the ships in that has been an absolute fucking delight. Like, I loved normal FTL, but the ships were quite hard to unlock, and there weren't, I mean, especially in comparison to the multiverse mod, there weren't that many of them. Now there are fucking tons, with variations as well. And one of the things I look forward to / enjoy about FTL the most is the idea of getting to play with a bunch of different ships. Like, check out all these new ships, check out all these new weapons and these systems, and check out these ships you're gonna have to fight. Can you take that thing down, that fucking MKV goddamn gunboat or whatever the fuck? I love spaceships as well. I used to play a lot of Star Wars Empire at War, which the base game of that is a it's basically like RTS Grand Strategy with space battles and land battles, but I downloaded a mod for it. I can't remember what it's called right now. I'm gonna see if I can find out real quick. Give me a minute. Give me a minute. Give me a minute. Let me check. Was it Fall of the Republic? Was that something different entirely? Nah, something different entirely, okay. No, I'm thinking of, I can't remember what it was called, but I got a mod for it that basically focused Empire at War on space battles. Like, it all just became space battles. But those space battles went from, like, 2004 to 2021, where the ships were fucking gorgeous. It brought in, spaceships and factions from all across Star Wars lore. Like, it incorporated the pirate faction. I think they did bring in Republic and Separatists, and then a bunch of other stuff as well. And I don't know, it's hard to figure out which mods were which, because sometimes there were different versions, and sometimes they kind of melded together and it was weird. But this focused more on spaceship combat, and you had like big capital ships, and it really focused on the fleets, and there were lots of different ships you could get with all different kinds of specialties and bonuses and stuff. And the heroes, of course, like you can get Darth Vader and his personal Star Destroyer, and obviously Palpatine as well. And like Mon Mothma and what's his fucking name, Admiral Akbar in Home 1. Like, so much cool stuff you could do there with all the ships. It was incredible. Loved it. I remember putting an ungodly amount of time into that. And I remember, like, if I was cutting wood for the fire or something, I would actually be muttering to myself while I do it, like, well, I need more of these Corvettes because I need to be able to take down these specific targets, and they're very fast moving, so they can move around these sort of things. But I need a capital ship to be able to draw their fire, but it needs to be a good one, and it needs to be supported because they can't take the fire forever. And maybe bombers to deal with these hard points, but the bombers could easily be taken down by enemy ships that are more focused towards fighters, so I need something that can snipe those so the bombers can go through to do their job, and I was very much obsessing over it. And that's because I really liked it, and it was really cool, and I just really enjoyed it in general. And I remember a version of that mod. I can't remember what version of it was, and I doubt I'd ever find it again. But there was a version of that mod where if you played as the pirates, the modders, I don't know where they got it from, I don't know if they made it themselves or if they got it off a YouTuber or something, like a YouTube musician or whatever, they got a metal version of the Pirates of the Caribbean theme to play during pirate space battles. And is that cheesy? Yes. Extremely fucking cheesy. Was it sick? Yeah. Yeah, it was fucking awesome. It was so cool. I loved it. I remember, like, maybe even giggling with glee when I heard the riffs come in and heard it be, like, the same notes as, the Pirates of the Caribbean theme, because it was so fucking goofy and ridiculous, and I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, I reckon that's all I've got for you today in terms of things that I think are cool. That's definitely not all the things I think are cool, but it's some things I think are cool. I hope you also thought they were cool. I would also like to know what things you think are cool, because I would like to know more about the things that are cool that other people find cool, and I also think people should talk more about the things that are cool, because it makes them happy, and things that make you happy are pretty fucking cool. Thank you so much for watching. Special thanks to Sion Distance, LOL, Final Legend, Ethrobin, Linky, Zeon Cedar, Bimblewart, Tum King, Majoko Mime, Nadash Sanjeev, Alkir, Honeydew Corporation, Sweet Baby Red, MB Elias, Lord Skullington, Jessicissy, Plutonium Pie, Dreamer Ghost, Leper Lullaby, K-Bub, Magical, The Frostbite, Monsoon, World, War Masoku, SCP-1068, Namad, and Kenny T800 for supporting me on Patreon. Thank you so much, guys. And thank you so much for watching. Stuff you think are cool. Tell me the cool stuff you think cool. Tell me now. Tell me. Do it now, right now. Don't even wait for the video to finish. Comment it right now. Do it now. Post it below now. Do it. Do it. You're not doing it. Do it. You're going to be in such big trouble. When I eventually complete my transformation into a lich and take over the planet, I'm going to come straight to your house and be like, what was the thing that was cool that you had? Thought. Tell me. Unfortunately, a process of turning into an undead magic-wielding being is that literacy is the first thing to go. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching, or listening, I suppose. It's the talky one. I'm not, like I said in the previous one, I'm not spamming Foreman Talks at the moment. I just think I needed to do 2 because I'm going to be working for Sweetman, and those are early starts, late finishes. So I wanted something a little easier to work on, so I wasn't working until 2 a.m. or whatever, trying to get that out. Bless his heart, Sweetman leads from the front, so he's also doing early starts, late finishes, so hopefully my influence can help him, you know, have a less late finish, and if not, then at least get more done so that on a later day he can have a less late finish. That's the hope. But whatever happens next time, and yes, we will be doing our normal shit, it's just I needed something easier this week for reasons. But whatever we do next time, hope I see you there. Toodles, goodbye.